CJ Stroud already making changes in the offseason. And speaking of changes, for CJ Stroud and the Texans, they interviewed two offensive coordinator candidates. Let's get to know them. Another edition of The Locker Room.
It's The Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the...
It is The Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can see me here throughout the week. This brought to you by BetUS. Promo code YouTube150. If you want to get 150% back up to $2,000 just in time before football season. So 150% bonus. Let's say you put in 100. Now you got $250 to gamble on the Super Bowl. So you can get in the game. Time is still ticking. If you want to bet on basketball, you can do that as well. That's just however you want to do it. Actually, going to try to chase some money. I'm going to do some foolish stuff. I had 1,000 on the Bills, but I also took a 700 on their point total. So I took a $300 L on the Bills. Don't regret it. There was other factors that came into play. But yeah, we'll chase some of that money a little bit later. Promo code YouTube150 if you want to get in the game with BetUS. So we have some news with the Texans. They have interviewed two head coaching candidates. We'll get to know those guys from someone who knows them very well, who covers the team locally. And we'll also get into the lessons that we learned, the localized championship lessons a little bit later on. Put your comments in the chat. Always an interesting spot there. We'll get to that. But let's just start right off the top. DJ Bieneme of ESPN reports that CJ Stroud is not going to be at the Pro Bowl. He was invited as an alternate, but declined per source. DJ says, I think this is the start of an offseason of putting his head down and getting to work. So somewhat of a new offseason for CJ Stroud as opposed to last year. A lot of this could be his own doing. The other thing is, let's just be honest, he's not as popular this offseason as he was last. I'm sure there's still some people that want to talk to him, but he's not the toast of the NFL like he was last offseason. And for all the people, and there have been a lot of theories about how active CJ Stroud was last year and how much he was doing. I know at Ohio State, he had said that, he had to slow it down when it came to the NIL. He had to tell his business folk. But when he comes out and says, maybe I thought this was going to be easier than it actually is, maybe toning it down in the offseason and just putting his head down and focusing wouldn't be the worst thing for CJ Stroud to do. I think this is a step in the right direction. Let's be honest, it's a big year for CJ Stroud. He's going to be extension eligible after the year. This time last year, I think it seemed like it was inevitable that CJ would be among the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. I think the way that the market is, that probably still happen, even if he has a year like he had this year. But he needs to put his head down. He needs to figure it out. And as he has said, and as many have said, keep the main thing the main thing. So I think this is a step in the right direction and a good thing for CJ Stroud. We'll see how that goes for sure. A couple of offensive coordinator interviews with the for the Texans. So the Texans interviewed two guys, one guy already in the building, one kind of surprising candidate in Jeff Nixon. Jeff Nixon of Syracuse. Syracuse had a damn good offense this year. They led the nation in passing yards, and McCord transferred from Ohio State to there, and he did his thing, and they were a very interesting offense. We did not anticipate Nixon being a candidate, but he is a candidate. There's two OC candidates, and the first one is someone that we know, Gerard Johnson. Known him for a while, and he's obviously the quarterback coach for CJ Stroud. I can't make a case for Gerard Johnson to be the offensive coordinator. I really can't make the case for Gerard to be the OC. If you were unhappy with the Texans offensive staff last year, I think you were. We've acknowledged, CJ's acknowledged that he didn't have the year that he wanted to have, and you just got rid of Bobby Slowick. It's hard for me to imagine that Gerard Johnson would be the right hire. And some people will say, well, he hadn't called plays. I've said this 100 times. I don't care whether he's called plays or not. I just don't know how good of a job he did last year. We've never seen his offense. We know that this is kind of the system that at least we were told that he preferred. Obviously, there's better versions of this system than we saw with Bobby Slowick, but I can't make a case for Gerard Johnson. I would love to. He's the only candidate that I actually know. I respect him. But when covering this team, there's no like favors. You know, I'm not trying to do any favors. I'm just trying to call it objectively. And I just can't shape my lips to make a case for Gerard Johnson being the right offensive coordinating candidate compared to the other guys that the Texans have been linked to. It's probably the most difficult case for me. Bill Lazor or Gerard Johnson, someone on this staff just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, the Gerard Johnson. So if you have a case for Gerard Johnson, you can lay it out. I don't have the case. I don't have the case for Gerard Johnson. Then we have Jeff Nixon at Syracuse. This is an interesting one, and I think this is one that we didn't necessarily anticipate being in the mix. Sam Warren, who went to Syracuse, provided, and he covers the Texans for the Houston Chronicle at Sam Warren _3. He put together a nice thread about Nixon, and go follow Sam. I think he does some of the most underrated, underappreciated work in town at the Chronicle, at Sam Warren _3. He puts together kind of a lot of this like nerdy stuff that a lot of people appreciate. He does a hell of a job covering the squad. Just started this year. But here's his thread, and you can tell it's a lot, but I think it's a lot of really, really good information from Sam. He says some interesting notes about Syracuse's offense with Jeff Nixon interviewing for the Texans OC job. Cuse liked to get the ball out quick. Kyle McCord was 5th in time to throw, 2.4 seconds, a minimum of 350 attempts. CJ Stroud was the 4th highest in the NFL at 2.97. So that's a gap. It's college and pro, but that's interesting statistics. He said that meant a lot of the short passing attack. Nearly half McCord's 592 attempts were between 0 and 9 yards. That Tom Brady was always like kind of in that area too. There were some times and eras where he took cheap shots, but that's usually where the dissecting happened. Many of those came over the middle, where Stroud has been effective in his NFL career. The short throws also help set up deep shots to a T when Cuse let it fly. McCord was one of the best QBs in the NCAA on passes of 20-plus air yards, 41 for 78, 1273, which is 2nd in the country, 9 TDs, 3 INTs. After dominating the deep ball as a rookie, Stroud took a step back this year. To Nixon's detriment, his offense let up a lot of pressure. McCord's 172 pressures in 13 games were 5th most in the country, though given McCord's astronomical 640 dropbacks, that came out to a pressure rate of just 26.9%. Stroud was pressured on 39.4% of his 701 dropbacks this year. This is some good stuff from Sam. Again, at Sam Warren _3. The Orange also spread the ball out a ton. They had 4 players with 50-plus catches and 5 with 500-plus receiving yards. One of those was LaQuint Allen. Houston often struggled to get the all options involved, with Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz having limited impact until late in the year. The Orange also found ways to create space for their players. After the catch, Cuse had 2,099 yak overall and Allen and Pena ranked in the top 25 in the country. Houston had 1,840 yak and ranked 24th in the regular season. Lastly, Cuse's offense was also up to par in the clutch. They ranked 8th in the country in third down percentage and had 69.4% red zone TD percentage. Houston was 37.7% on third downs, 49.1% on red zone TDs in the regular season. In all, Nixon flourished with Syracuse, where the Texans really floundered last season. That combined with his multiple stops in the NFL and previous experience calling plays for the Panthers make him an intriguing option to Houston, an unexpected but strong candidate for the OC job. I think that's a nice thread from Sam on the on Nixon, but I will say, college and pro is a little bit different. I think that the gap between the differences has kind of closed over time, but it is a lot different. It's apples to oranges. The other thing is, even if you are going to just say that everything that he did in college could translate to the NFL, you're going to need better skill position guys. Like you're not going to dig up Bill Walsh from his grave and have a good offense with John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, the ghost of Stephon Diggs as your 2 down receivers, and Dalton Schultz as your tight end, and no other options at running back. Especially if you're trying to get the ball in guys' hands in space or close to the line of scrimmage. So it's kind of an interesting possibility. There's a lot of question marks that come with it, but he does also have some NFL experience, and it's not too crazy. I would, if you asked me between these two guys who I would want to be the offensive coordinator, I would take Nixon over Gerard. I don't think I would hesitate for that at all. I would definitely take Nixon over Gerard. It wouldn't be a hesitation for me. I don't know how you hire someone from this staff to call plays. Just would not be the route in which I would go. So we'll see what happens with Nixon. I would be shocked if Nick Caley didn't at least get an interview. I talked about him earlier today on the channel. I put a video up. He went to the same college as Nick Caserio. He worked in New England. He's in the McVay pipeline. Just seems like the perfect compromise for D'Amico and Nick Caserio following a 2-year period where D'Amico basically got his way and it didn't work out after Nick Caserio stepped away. So maybe you kind of meet in the middle and figure something out. But Nick Caley, to me, it seems like the ideal candidate. I'm hesitant to say that means they will interview him or won't. And quite frankly, it's hard to predict what the Texans are doing, because probably a week ago, we didn't anticipate Bobby Slowik getting fired, or we thought that he should, but we just kind of had the same old Texans type of feel where you're just going to fire the O-line coach. They did that. And no one was really talking about Nixon as a candidate, and that happened today. So it's really hard to talk about what they are going to do, because I feel like we're still kind of learning about D'Amico Ryans, and we're learning about what these guys are and aren't going to do. So that's something to keep an eye on, for sure. Chip Kelly's obviously still the popular name. He was kind of it never made sense when it came to the Jags. I saw that the CBS, I guess, Jonathan is his name, Jonathan Jones, whatever his name is. He said that Jacksonville was interested in Chip Kelly. I immediately rolled my eyes at that, because that made no sense. Chip Kelly, we don't know whether he's going back to the NFL or not, but it would be weird if he went somewhere where the head coach is going to call plays. I think that's a Bobby Slowick type of job, is go be an offensive coordinator where the head coach calls plays and you're basically like a quality control, passing game coordinator type of cat. Chip Kelly, that's not him. He's an established play caller. He's been doing this for a long time. So going to Jacksonville for a first-time head coach and not calling plays made no sense. So I don't know if that was agent-driven. I don't know if maybe it was true and then not. I don't know where that came from. It never made logical sense. Now, the same report also said that the Texans would be interested. You can make that make logical sense. Chip Kelly. Him and D'Amico Ryans have a connection. He's established. D'Amico Ryans has said how innovative he is. He's kind of got the personality and the experience that it takes to oversee an offense with a defensive-minded coach. You can make that make sense whether the report is true or not. You can't make Chip Kelly going to Jacksonville to be an offensive coordinator when he makes $2 million at Ohio State and just won a national championship. You can't make that make sense. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So that was kind of weird to begin with and really easy to dismiss right off the top. Really, really easy to dismiss right off the top. People are making fun of Liam Cohen's press conference. Look, it was pretty bad. The press conference, it was almost like Nick Sirianni like. But Nick Sirianni's done an okay job. Like, his team's in the Super Bowl. They've already been once. If you missed it, this was kind of the viral moment. One of my favorite Twitter follows, Coaches Speak, put this out, and the caption is 0-17. I mean, this is really bad from the new Jags head coach.
Duval.
That is
Duval.
All right, that's bad, bro.
Duval.
Yeah, I don't know about that, brother. Yeah, I don't know about that, brother. Not good. Not a good start for him. So that I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if he thought that was cool. I don't know if it's a bit. No idea. But yeah, not the best start for the Jags. Not a terrible hire. But that one was that was a rough one by him. For sure. I don't know if I'm putting that on the soundboard. I don't want to hear that daily. Maybe when they play the Jags, we can get that on the soundboard. But I'm not putting that on. I did just put something on the soundboard, like one of my favorite clips of all time in internet history. I actually just missed the opportunity to use it. The fake Chip Kelly report. So what I should have done was I should have said, there's a report. I'm just going to set it up now. Let's just pretend the fake report ramble never happened. There was a report about Chip Kelly wanting to be the OC in Jacksonville.
This is fake. This is fake.
It's a fake.
Yeah, that's Photoshop. That's fake. On my mama, that's fake. On my heart, on my life, my little brother grave, I could die right now. That's fake.
Got to get that Soldier Boy, this is fake type of thing. So we got that on the board. I don't think Duval's going to stay at all. Maybe Liam was on that as Arts by Beware says. Maybe he was on that.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Could be. That would make him that would make him pretty good. Oh, you want Drake? I think Drake's on here.
Drake?
Yeah, we got Drake. We got that. That fake Soldier Boy. Yeah, that's one of the best. Let's chase some money. So I lost 1,000 on the Bills. And this is BetUS, promo code YouTube 150. I lost a GUR, but I got 700 on the point total. So Am I going to learn my lesson? Start out with about 1,400. I got the bonus. So we're right about even for the season, which is pretty good. We're going to go to football. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to display selected. And you know what? I haven't learned my lesson. I'm betting on the Eagles, and I am betting $1,200 on the Eagles money line. And you can call this a hate bet. You can call it a YOLO bet. I don't care what you call it. But I am betting $1,200 on the Eagles. I'm then going to go to the prop builder, and I'm really going to start hating because I'm going to go bring up the game, damn it. BetUS.com, promo code U2150. All right, here we go. I'm going to go Super Bowl. We're going to go passing TDs. We're going to go Hurts over. We're going to go under Travis Kelce yards because he sucks. So under Travis Kelce, that's plus 368. And then touchdowns, favorite country dude, Devontae Smith. Boom. And then we'll give X a touchdown too. And we're at 22-1. They're going to limit the hell out of this. Man, y'all are limiting me to 450. That's trash. We'll figure out the props later. That's 450 to win 103. But we're 1,200 on the Eagles. I'm gonna hate bet the Chiefs. I don't give a damn. I believe in smash mouth football. So there we go. Evan's asking for damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out to Bobby Slug. Well, only lost 300, so it was the nicest hedge there. Speaking of which, so we've talked about the two OC candidates. I like Nixon over Gerard Johnson. That's just me. I want to go through the localized lessons that we learned this weekend as we sat on our hands after covering the Texans and sat back and continued the unbeaten tradition since the franchise started of sitting back and watching Championship Sunday. Couple of localized lessons from the weekend. Number one, Travis Kelce is still washed. The Texans were just missing pieces. And we said this after Travis Kelce did what he did against the Texans. And Tony Romo, playoff Travis Kelce, Jim. Playoff Travis Kelce, Jim. Oh, look at him, blah, 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 blah. Jalen Petrie was hurt. Jimmy Ward was hurt. Those were your two nickelbacks. Those guys were hurt. So Travis Kelce was able to get loose because he had Azeez Al-Shire on him. He's still washed. The Texans, the two most significant injuries that the Texans had where they lost their nickelback. You have to have a nickelback this day and age. Sometimes in the draft, it's almost frowned upon. A lot of people thought Kamari Lassiter might have been just a nickelback and an inside guy. And it was almost like there were people saying, oh, no, you can't draft an inside guy in the second round. If you can get an elite nickelback in the first round, that is an asset in today's NFL. The Texans have two good nickelbacks. There's still limitations with Jalen Petrie when it comes to coverage, but he's a really good nickelback. Jimmy Ward's one of the best nickels in the league the last few years. You lose both of those guys, it changes the way you play defense. So Travis Kelce, we saw him, I think he had 2 catches this weekend. And every time he has a catch, Tony Romo, you basically, it goes from being a PG program to an X-rated program because he can't stop touching himself. Anytime Travis Kelce has a catch, he was a non-factor. And that's really what he's been all season. The decline of the Chiefs' offense has as much to do with the decline of Travis Kelce as anything. He's cooked. They might try to force feed him in the Super Bowl. We'll see. But this notion that the Texans screwed up and somehow let Travis Kelce get loose, it's not true. They were shorthanded. It's like when the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl and both of their starting tackles were out. I think it's the one time they lost the Super Bowl. They weren't able to block the guys. When both of your nickelbacks are out, you can't cover the ghost of Travis Kelce. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot to ask of Azeez Al-Shire, whether he's a ghost or not. So lesson number one, through the localized lenses, is Travis Kelce is still washed. The Texans were just shorthanded. That's lesson one. Techno Stone says Jimmy Ward's done. I don't know. He seems to be in pretty good spirits. That was a weird-ass extension, though. I will say that. That was a weird-ass extension. A guy who gets hurt often, older, and you gave him a one-year extension, that was weird. Not going to lie. And you had Jalen Petrie doing his thing. That was weird. But, yeah, Jimmy Ward done. Don't know about that. That'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. So that's localized championship lesson numero uno. Numero dos. I'm going to push this agenda until they actually start practicing it. I've been pushing this since I've been covering the Texans. I've been pushing this for a decade plus since I've been covering the Texans. And I think that, fortunately, the running back is back. And the shameful devaluing of one of the most impactful positions in all of football, I think it's kind of back. Hey, Nick Caserio, D'Amico Ryans, whoever the F y'all hire at OC, it's okay to have multiple backs. It's okay to have multiple backs. Dice knows. He's been following along. Draft 6 running backs. It's okay to have multiple running backs that can make plays. The Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco got hurt. He really hasn't done much since he got back. You know what? It doesn't matter. First touchdown of the game, and a guy who really kind of established their physicality at the line of scrimmage, Kareem Hunt, scores a touchdown. First play of the game, or first drive of the game. Boom. Game clinching play. Samaje Perine in the flat. Moves the chains. Game over. Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley's doing his thing. They sprinkle in a little bit of Gamewell. I know Shipley had the FU long run. That was kind of mop-up duty. Washington, they had Brian Robinson. They could have easily just kept it going. They got in the market, and they brought in Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler was a decent part of what they did down the stretch. It's okay to have multiple backs. You don't have to just have a backup running back who you don't trust, and then you put him in mop-up duty situations, and he has a couple of long runs which completely skew his stats, and you act like you trust him. If there's running backs there early, get them. Get them. Joe Mixon's not getting any younger. He's still very good. Don't ask Joe Mixon to go out there and play 85% of the snaps. It's okay to have multiple running backs, Texans. It's all right. You can figure that out. You'll be fine. So proactively get the running backs. If you want to help, if you want to find a way to put these guys in position to make plays in the passing game, that's fine too. But it's okay to have multiple running backs. Okay, I promise it won't kill you. I thought D'Amico knew that, and I thought Nick Caserio knew that. That's the most disappointing thing to me. And that was the assumption I made when these guys combined powers. I'm old enough to remember when New England was bringing in running back after running back after running back. They won a conference championship game where I think Burkhead scored a touchdown. Sony Michel had 100 yards. James White led the team in receptions, and they advanced to the Super Bowl. You sprinkle in some Danny Woodhead. They drafted Michel in the first round when they already had running backs. Like all these teams that win at a high level, they have multiple running backs that can make plays. Not whenever there's mop-up duty and Damen Pierce runs for 80 yards and dives into the end zone against the Patriots. And they treat, you notice when you know that someone isn't supposed to make an impact when it actually matters. You guys know this. Y'all watch enough sports. Whenever the entire bench goes absolutely nuts, like it's almost a joke that they scored a touchdown. Like Damen Pierce had 2 long touchdowns this year. One of them was in a game that didn't matter. One of them was against New England when it was already wrapped up and Joe Mixon was icing up after being injured. The whole bench runs onto the field. It's like the 5'9" white guy at the end of the bench in the shooting shirt at Duke that goes into the game when it's a 20-point game and he scores a 3-pointer and all of a sudden you look over at the bench and it looks like they just went and saw Richard Pryor stand up or Shane Gillis stand up if we want to be recent. That's when you know that you don't have multiple running backs that can make plays. Every time Damen Pierce did something, it was almost like that nerdy-ass white dude at the end of the bench in the shooting shirt. They didn't act like that was supposed to happen. They're all running on the bench, off the field on the bench. I think they might have even gotten a penalty on it. It's okay to have multiple running backs. And don't tell me that you trust Damen Pierce when your actions show that you don't. It's okay. Get a running back that you trust with Joe Mixon. Get multiple guys that can do different things. It's okay. It won't hurt you. It won't hurt you. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. What value does Damen Pierce have? What is the value of Damen Pierce? I don't even know who would trade for him. So localized championship lesson number 1, Travis Kelce still washed. Damen Pierce, you got to get multiple rings. I think Damen Pierce can be your kick returner, and you can have him on your squad, no doubt. He can be a special teamer. He can be your third back. Maybe your fourth. I don't know. They like Dare Gumbawale because he's good on special teams. Dare Gumbawale catches a 2-yard pass on a rollout, and you would think that it was like the best play ever. He's one of their guys. You got to get multiple backs that you trust to make plays in big-time games when everyone is healthy. Can Amin Thompson run the football? He can do about anything else. But that's the best player on the Rockets. No doubt about that. But yeah, get multiple running backs. Figure it out. Lesson number 3. I'm sticking with the running backs. Y'all know me. I like the running back stuff. Smash mouth football can't exist. Philadelphia, right now, Philadelphia is basically the face of old school football. Saquon Barkley should be MVP. Like all these hot take shows and everything, they're sitting there and they're talking about Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I like both these guys. Big fans of both of them. But Philadelphia has Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts he's been hurt all year. I don't know if he can elevate his play to where when Philly really needs him, he can get the job done. We haven't seen him have to do it. You know why? Because his running backs rushing for 2,000 yards. Look at their playoff games. I mean, the first touch of the game, 60-yard touchdown against Washington, completely calms everything down after Washington kind of moved the ball easily. Finds the end zone again and again. Against the Rams, kind of the same story. It's been that way all year. I mean, there were people, and I texted Sean Pendergast joking about this over at 610, one of my buddies, former coworker. I mean, they were pushing an agenda against even the Texans signing Saquon Barkley. And I think Joe Mixon was fine, but there was like the minimizing of wanting to pay Saquon Barkley a certain amount of money. At one point, they talked about Tyler Boyd, like getting a similar contract. Tyler Boyd? a slot receiver instead of Saquon Barkley? I think that's kind of changed because we've kind of seen what running backs have done, but smash mouth football does exist. While everyone else is zigging, you can zag. People have kind of gotten away from it. Now, some people might take it too far. Who knows when Genty goes in this draft? But some people might take it too far, but I think it was too far the other way, where running backs were kind of minimized. And it was just funny how much of a double standard there was about running backs. Like the Chiefs draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it's like, see, that's why you don't take a running back. What about when other teams draft receivers that suck? There's like 3 a draft in the first round that suck, a receiver. We never sit there and say, well, that's why you don't draft receivers. I mean, if the Chiefs had drafted Jonathan Taylor instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, what would we be saying? We wouldn't be saying that. You think the Lions regret taking Gibbs? With the way the running back market is, if you can get these guys on rookie contracts and you can get the most out of them 3 years in, even if it's just 3 years, it's worth it. If you can find a complete back. Now you got to find the complete back. But those guys can make an impact in any aspect of the game. They can run the ball, catch the ball, pass blocking, all that. So we'll see how far it goes, but smash mouth football does exist. And to go back to lesson 2, you can have multiple running backs. It is the locker room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Also subscribe to SNL with myself and Cody Stutes. He's at the Senior Bowl in Alabama. I saw he did 1 hour on Nixon today. That kind of seems like a little much. He might be bored out there. Cody, we'll be at the Combine. Look, well, if they hire him, that's cool. My man Stutes did 1 hour on Nixon. That's impressive, man. You won't get that anywhere else. You will not get that anywhere else. Let me see if I'm being fair. Did he do 1 hour on Nixon? Let me see. Yep, breaking. The Houston Texans interview a surprising candidate. Let me see what this looked like. I want to check this out a second. Let's see what we got with Stutes. He's going to kill me. Got 1 hour on Nixon. Let's see. Big time right there. Look at that. He's right. He's in that hotel room. See him? This guy. Let's see the tease.
On a Monday, talking to 2 different potential offensive coordinators, one a familiar name and one a big surprise name. And
Jeff Nixon. Let's see.
Nico spot. Couple of and weight also very strong.
Oh, okay.
And
He went draft too. Okay. It wasn't an hour on Nixon. All right. Fake news. Fake news by your boy. Fake news. All right, there you go. Gage is a diehard. He knows. Paul says, am I going to watch the Super Bowl? Why wouldn't I watch the Super Bowl? What kind of question is that? Is there a joke there? I don't get it. Am I going to watch the Super Bowl? The hell is that? I'm going to watch the Super Bowl no matter what. Techno the Traveler says, Barkley not rushing for 2K with us, bro. Our O-line was trashy. So he's still a good player. He still do his thing. He make the pass game better, make the run game better. I don't think anyone's gonna like say he's gonna rush for 2K. He can make the O-line better though. Yeah, they got a damn good O-line in Philly. No doubt about that. For sure. 2K, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Need a lot of things about that. Lesson 4, and this is the final lesson from the localized lessons. And #1, Kelce still washed. #2 was multiple running backs is okay. #3 was that smash mouth football is alive. Here's #4. Kansas City getting calls is not a Houston thing. I know that there were some people who are saying, oh, they're against Houston. No, not against Houston. They're just pro Chiefs. And I think the NFL's kind of got a little bit of a problem because, and I started thinking about this after I said it. And I kind of think I might be one of the examples of it. I grew up a huge sports fan, but the NBA is what I was closest to. And I was fortunate enough to get to basically run in the locker room. Me and my boy, we got our hustle on, and we were basically at every game. We were able to run in the locker room, get like that. That right there, you see it back there. That's Kobe Bryant, and that's his sweatband right there that he gave me after a game. Like it was that close. Like there was a lot of stuff that went on. I got a lot of NBA collection just because I was able to run around there. And it was my first love. It was my favorite thing. But I do think I kind of soured on the NBA when I was in my prime in the 2000s because of really in large part because of the Kings-Lakers series. The Kings-Lakers series where Sacramento clearly got cheated and LA started getting all the calls. It really kind of soured me, and I think it soured a lot of people on the NBA to where the integrity of the game came into question and all-time greats were still getting favorable treatment despite the fact they might not have needed it. The Texans were going to lose to the Chiefs no matter what. I hate to break it to everyone. Did they get hosed? Yes, but they were going to lose to the Chiefs no matter what. We knew that. But the officiating in this Buffalo game was terrible. And it's funny because they actually avoided an even bigger disaster than what happened. We saw the bad calls. The one bad call where Xavier Worthy, it should have been an incomplete pass. The Chiefs still would have kept the ball, but it was either an interception or an incomplete pass. Xavier Worthy wasn't even trying to catch it, trying to reel it in before it hit the ground. And for some reason, the referee was immediately positive that Xavier Worthy caught the ball. And if you look at him, he's saying it before he even pulls it in. And at the time, the Buffalo defender has the ball. It hits the ground, and then Xavier pulls it in and wrestles it away. That would have still ended up being the Chiefs' ball, and it wouldn't have mattered. Then you have the 3rd and 4th down spot that everyone's talking about, where the guy at the top has the right spot. The guy at the bottom changes his spot. He has it really short, and then he changes it even more. And for some reason, they look at the review and they decide that the Chiefs stopped the Bills and they got the ball. Go back and look at where it would have even been a bigger disaster. 4 plays before where everyone's talking about. Go back and look at the 4th down before the 4th down that everyone's talking about, where Josh Allen decides he's going to hurdle the Chiefs. He decides he's going to hurdle the Kansas City Chiefs. And I tweeted this out at Landry Locker. I don't want to put it on here because anytime you put NFL highlights, you kind of get you get like a copyright strike. But it's at Landry Locker. Yeah, why was there not a measurement? I don't know on that whole thing. Like there wasn't even a measurement. That's the first time I've seen there not even be a measurement. Like they were that positive. But go back and watch the 4th down before that where Josh Allen hurdles and then he fumbles. And Buffalo recovers the fumble. Now, if Buffalo hadn't recovered the fumble, then it would have been the biggest disaster possible. Because if you go back and look at it, and it's part of the reason why Josh Allen fumbles, Tranquil is literally grabbing Josh Allen by his face mask and pulling him down. Go watch. Go look at it at Landry Locker. Go look at the video. While Josh Allen hurdles and he's over the guys, he's on top of the guys. Tranquil is literally grabbing him by his face mask down to the ground. And it causes Josh Allen to fumble. And then after that, Buffalo recovers the ball. But if Kansas City had recovered that fumble, then it would be an even bigger outrage than what we ended up seeing 4 plays later. Go look at it. He's grabbing him by the face mask and pulling him down to the ground, and that's why Josh Allen fumbles. Go look at it. If Kansas City recovers that, then the NFL has a real problem on their hands. It's still kind of ridiculous, But go back and watch it. He's literally grabbing his face mask and pulling him down to the ground. And Josh Allen fumbles. And Romo and Nance, I don't know what they're watching, by the way. I mean, these guys are almost like guys who are playing on their phones and trying to cover a game. I don't know what Romo and Nance are doing. If you told me, honestly, if you gave me two choices and you told me that for 3.5 hours of my life, you have two options of how to spend 3.5 hours of your life for the Super Bowl. Let's say on Super Bowl Sunday, a Magic Genie comes down to me and he says, you got two options for how to spend 3.5 hours of your life. Option one, for 3.5 hours, you can watch the Super Bowl with Tony Romo. You and Tony Romo chilling, snacks, all that, all the snacks you want, and you're watching the Super Bowl together. That's option one. And then he says that option two is you have to go to prison for 3.5 hours. You have to be in your cell, but there is a TV with the game on, and you get a potluck roommate, and you have to eat prison food. That's option two. I'll take option two every time. Watching Tony Romo call a game sucks. Sucks. I would rather watch it in a prison cell, honestly. Because there's a chance that the other guy, he's going to stay on his side of the cell. We're just going to sit there and watch the game and chat. Tony Romo is an absolute beating to watch a game. And it's rubbing off on Jim Nance too. It sucks. It's terrible. But KC getting the calls is not just a Houston thing. No one is against Houston. Now here's my beef. And this is where I kind of go on the soapbox. Yeah, even with all the snacks, I'll take the prison grub. Throw the tray under the cell. I don't care about the snacks, the pizza, the steak, whatever. Throw me the prison tray and let me sit in my cell for 3.5 hours and watch the game instead of watching the game with Romo. I'm good. I am 100% good with that. I don't care. I thought Brady was fine. Tony Romo sucks. He's terrible. He makes the game unenjoyable. He is awful. And Nance ain't much better now either. I know he's a Houston guy. Let's just be honest. He's not good anymore either. But here's my problem with the current layout of the NFL rules. And this is what's asked backwards about it. This is what's asked backwards about the NFL. And apparently they're going to look into this and they're going to look at personal fouls and they're going to figure out some things and all that. They're going to use assistants, all that. That's great. That's fine. But this is my biggest issue with NFL rules. You can't mute the game while you're watching the game. You can't do that. Like they're telling you what's going on. Can't mute the game. That's not an option. Kevin Harlan and Igor are great. No doubt. But here's the dumbest thing about the current rules in the NFL. And I was talking to my pops about this today. So let's pretend that there is some sort of bias for the Chiefs. Let's pretend that there is. I mean, look, say what you want. They get at the calls, and whether it's the call on the field or the review, a lot of times they get the call. And a lot of times the reason that is because the immediate call on the field always seems to kind of favor the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy caught the pass, the spot, all that. It seems to favor the Chiefs. But this isn't just the Chiefs thing. I just think this is an ass backwards way of doing things. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the NFL functions this way. And they've really got to address this because the casuals are going to get tired of watching the game if you continue to let this shit go on. Just like they got tired of watching the NBA after the Kings and the Lakers. That was a big problem. The integrity of the game. You had a referee that was fixing games and he wrote books, Tim Donaghy. Like that pushed a lot of people away from the game. I'm never going to stop watching football. It's not going to happen. I love football. I'm going to watch it no matter what. I'm going to bitch about the announcers, but I'm still going to listen to everything they say. That's just me. whether I was covering it or not, I'm going to watch football. But here's the ass backwards thing about it. And this is what I said. Rick says mute it and put it on 610. No, thank you. And plus, football games are better on the bull. If you're listening to Texans games, put it on the bull. It's a much clearer signal. 610 ruined their signal. They basically got rid of it in penny pinch. So you don't need to. If you want a clearer signal, listen to the bull whenever it's on. But anyway, I digress. The dumbest thing about the rules is this. Okay? And I'm going to ask 2 questions, and y'all can reply in the chat. All right. Number 1, why do they need replay? Why do they need replay in the NFL? Why is it necessary? Because people make mistakes, right? Because people make mistakes, and for all the crying about officiating, it's not easy. So people make mistakes, and it's a good way to fix mistakes. Okay? So that's the first question. Why do they need it? It's because people make mistakes. So you gotta fix those mistakes. And we acknowledge that. So with that understood, and with us understanding that that's why it's necessary, why is it that the call on the field matters? Why does the call on the field matter if we all admit and we all acknowledge that the reason that this thing's needed in the first place is because there's a tendency to screw it up? So why is it that the tie goes to the call on the field if the only reason we need it is because people make mistakes? Furthermore, if you're trying to cover up some sort of bias, if the calls initially always favor the Chiefs and you're going to lean that way, then you're actually making it worse by leaning that way. If you're gonna have officials that are immediately going to give the bad spot because they're riding Mahomes and Travis Kelce's dongs, then replay's not really fixing much of anything if you're already going to lean that way. So the call on the field should not matter. You should have an independent person. It could even be Mike Pereira, whoever the hell they use it, and have them tell you what it is, or just some random employee. But I get a kick out of it whenever we have these rules experts in the booth and you ask them to watch a play and they say, well, the call on the field was this, so I can't see it overturned. Tell me what you see, dude. Tell me what you see. Tell me what the call is. Don't lean towards the call on the field. The whole reason that we need this thing is because the call on the field is wrong often. Understandably so. So why are we leaning that way? It shouldn't even matter what the call on the field was. If we're reviewing a catch, watch it like it's the first time you're seeing it. You're seeing it in slow motion. You're seeing it. You might see it completely different than the guy on the field. But why the hell would you lean that way? That makes no sense. Well, they called it on the field this. It looks like it was a fumble, but, based on the fact that they called it on the field, why does that matter? Why do you lean that way? It makes no sense. Well, they called it short on the field, on the spot. Who cares? That should mean nothing. They screw stuff up. That's why we're looking at it in the first place. So it doesn't, I don't understand this whole, the call on the field is the way you lean. Why? The call's confirmed. The call stands. Why? Because it was too close for you to make a decision? It's gutless. It's gutless. Make a decision. Make the decision. The call stands. Okay? Why? I mean, if you just gave me a list, a a slideshow of plays, we could sit there and talk about what it was and what it wasn't. Why should it matter what the call on the field was? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Why would I look at it that way? That makes no sense. It's just so stupid. Well, that was the call on the field. Well, okay. Well, then let's just go off that from now on if we're going to lean that way. It's either what happened or not. And whoever reviews it should be the authoritative decision maker. You can leave them anonymous. I don't think referees should have to like sit there and have press conferences or something like that. But if the ref is already leaning Kansas City for whatever reason, or it's just some sort of coincidence, then they're always going to have the lean. It's a significant advantage. Like there's a really good chance that if something's getting reviewed, there's a really good chance that the call was wrong. Good chance, right? I mean, more times than not, especially like in college. Like in college, they do a pretty good job of they review throughout the game. Pretty good chance the call was wrong more times than not, right? So why would you lean towards the wrong side? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's no point to it. So they gotta figure that out. The NFL really has to figure that out. It's a popular game right now. It's as popular as it could possibly be. You got to figure out this integrity issue. And you also got to be able to review personal fouls. You got to review personal fouls. They're 15-yard penalties. Like they should have been able to go to replay on that Josh Allen QB sneak 4 plays before and say, I mean, they review targeting in college. Dude's yanking him down by his face mask. Buffalo should have had the ball at the 35-yard line. They shouldn't have even been at the 40 when they turned it over on downs. They should have been in field goal range. They should have been at the 35-yard line. So they got to figure that out. But leaning with the initial call makes 0 sense. It makes no sense. At all. None. That's my rant. Those are the localized lessons. This is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. We got less than 2 weeks left in the season. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Philadelphia does. Kind of feels like they're being slept on a little bit. Got to get Jalen healthy. Kind of feels like they're getting slept on. The other lesson, if we want to add a bonus localized lesson, I think Saquon Barkley guy's pretty good. I think he wanted to play in Philadelphia no matter what. I can't blame him. I would want to run behind that offensive line. But if the Texans had a price point for Saquon Barkley last offseason, the same offseason where they gave Dalton Schultz top 5 tight end money, probably should have arranged the budget a little bit more if it did just come down to money. I don't think it just came down to money. I think he's a Pennsylvania guy, wanted to be on that squad, wanted to kind of stick it to the Giants, be in that division. But if there was a price point, probably needed to figure that out, I would say. But who knows? Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to ride along. SNL live daily, 4:00. Myself and Cody Stutes. He's probably going to kill me because I said he did an hour on Nixon. Now, I did investigate and realize that he didn't. So hopefully he won't kill me too much. Be sure and follow him at the Senior Bowl. He's going to cover every prospect that your heart desires. We'll be at the Combine as well. That's coming up in a little less than a month, 4 weeks-ish out there in Indy. We got y'all covered for sure. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether they're getting calls or not, we're all in it together. Appreciate y'all.
Landlock, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number one. You don't need need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do.